Okay, what you're going to learn today, folks, our story about how we got into this mess, into this protocol. The problem with environmental toxins, how they affect you, where they come from, how to safely eliminate them, which is why I'm here, and why you should get detoxinated. And case studies, testimonials, probably don't have time for it, but we'll flip through them. Briefly, I've been married to my wife Susie for 28 years, if I did my math correctly. I'm the adoptive father of 3 beautiful biological sisters, which is the reason why that I served on the board of Sierra Adoption Services, which then became Sierra Forever Families. It's a wonderful organization. I was proud to be a part of that. We were also the poster family there for a while. It was a lot of fun. I've been an IT entrepreneur for 35 years. I was heavily connected with my father's medical practice, Dr. David Root, because he needed somebody that could set up and maintain his network. And I went off to become my own IT company, but he was my biggest client and oldest. I am the senior detoxinician. And yes, that is a word that we made up. In fact, we trademarked the word detoxination because we were trying to differentiate from detoxification, which has the connotation of being drugs and alcohol. So this protocol is awesome for drug addiction. It's about removing the cravings though. So if somebody's going to go through this protocol, it's after they've done the 12-step and all that. So I was the co-host. I'm also the CEO of Detoxination Wellness Centers. I was the co-host of the Get Detoxinated show that ran last year that's ended now. I'm the author of a book that I should have grabbed, but it's over there on the table. And it is the protocol spelled out step by step. Well, thank you, Peter. So this is my book, and I highly recommend it. You're going to learn a lot about why this protocol is important, but you're not going to get as much of a step-by-step as I do in the book. And like I said, I'm the son of Dr. David Root, which you guys figured out. Smart people. That is my father. I'm not going to go too much into him right now, but this is his Wikipedia bio when it was first submitted. It's been whittled down by people who are not liking the fact that we are against pharmaceuticals. So, shall I just say it? Wikipedia is somewhat controlled by Big Pharma. So, anyway, my detox inspiration is my wife, Susie. Back in 2012, she was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, and we basically just blindly accepted her physician's treatment plan, which was radioactive iodine therapy. You've had that. I did not know that, Tracy. Sorry, Karen. So you know what it's like to be a slave to the pharmaceutical industry and your thyroid.
The rest of my life, they kill too much.
Yes. And you'll never get better. And neither will my wife. And that was the problem. So, of course, we didn't know it at the time that we were treating it like it was something that was fun to do as a science fair project. So my kids took the picture of my wife as she's radioactive. Anyway, she didn't get better, she got worse. So now she is a slave to Big Pharma, and that's just to live and function. She's not going to have a normal life again. Here comes somebody. Hey, welcome. So our after-the-fact research opened our eyes, and we awoke from what I've coined this social allopathic conditioning. Anyway, what we discovered that opened our eyes was the fact that poor nutrition and xenobiotics create mitochondrial dysfunction, which cause most diseases and cancers. That was a huge eye-opener. How many people knew that? Probably not too many. All right. Did you know your body's like a vacuum cleaner? It sucks up all the dust and dirt that it can. And as you all know, I'm sure, ladies, that and maybe you men, that when the vacuum cleaner gets clogged, it damages the works, and you're basically out of commission for a while. That's a pretty bad clog, apparently. It's not my picture. But let's talk about what are toxins versus xenobiotics. So technically, A toxin is a poison or venom of a plant or animal of origin, especially one produced by or derived from microorganisms and causing disease when present at low concentration in the body. These are what we call endogenous toxins, and they tend to come from biological waste. So those are toxins by definition. What I'm referring to when I talk about this detox program are exogenous toxins. They're related to or denoting a substance, typically a synthetic chemical that is foreign to the body. Okay? They also include heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants like pesticides and herbicides, DDT, dioxins, things like that. So from now on, when I say toxin, think xenobiotics. Now, they're hydrophilic or water-soluble toxins, which are readily handled by your detoxification pathways. They're readily excreted in your urine and your feces. The lipophilic, on the other hand, are fat-soluble or fat-loving toxins, and they must be biochemically altered, and they have to be turned into water-soluble compounds before they can be excreted. However, let's just talk first about this. So in the body, the natural process of detox is typically involving two phases, which convert these toxins into easily excreted water-soluble waste. A majority of these occur in the liver, and the additional organs include your GI tract, lungs, kidneys, and skin, and also your brain. So that's the detox pathways in the liver, and the kidneys will take it over and take care of the urine part, and the stool, you'll know where that comes out. So, the detoxification pathways handle natural heavy metals with no problem. The synthetic chemicals and persistent organic pollutants are recent development. Only in the last 150 to 200 years have we started seeing these chemicals. So our bodies have not fully adapted to these materials. And these unaltered lipophilic toxins become sequestered in fat to protect the vital organs. This is a recent discovery, if you will, thanks to my father in 1987. That's a story that we're going to have to bypass for time, but just know that his research is what led to understanding that the fat is usually at least 200 times more toxic than any blood or blood serum test will reveal.
Isn't it part, what I've heard is that the fats that are on the outside of the body are part of their job is to actually get the toxins and surround them and push them to the outside of the body, which creates the cellulite and type of stuff.
That's not their original function, but that has become what their function is, because fat is an energy store. A fat cell is an energy storage house, and it's supposed to be able to convert that fat into a ATP, which is where the energy comes from. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Oh, by the way, did you see that the brain is 60 to 70% fat? So it's accumulating heavy metals, fluoride, and other toxins.
What happens when people are overweight and they start to try to lose weight?
You get to a certain point where there's stubborn fat that won't go away.
Because it's
That's
full
full of toxins.
Oh,
And most people don't understand
okay.
that.
Why they can't get rid of it?
Exactly.
It's protecting the body.
There's well over 100,000 chemicals manufactured per year. Over 4,000 new chemicals are added annually. Less than 10% people have been tested for human safety, and less than 1% in combination. And if you think about how chemicals are used in the lab, they mix chemicals to get reactions. Well, reactions are going on in the body, but they've never really spent much time testing the chemicals that they're letting us use in everyday life.
And we're sitting on Aerojet. We grew up
Yes.
in, yeah.
So in 2003, the Mount Sinai School of Medicine did a study of 9 volunteers. And what they found, first of all, is that there's 700 chemicals found in the fat of Americans generally. In 2003, though, they found a total of 167 toxins in the 9 participants. Okay? Each one averaged 91 chemicals. 94 of those affect brain and nervous system. 76 are carcinogenic, and all of them had that. 79 are linked to birth defects, and there's no level of these toxins that are acceptable in the body. And standard of care treatment is none. But wait, Dan, what about chelation? All right, let's talk chelation. So it's effective against acute poisoning, and I do agree with that. So if somebody has had acute heavy metal poisoning like mercury, absolutely go to chelation first, okay? The idea is they form non-toxic complexes, they bind, so you have a chelating agent that binds with the toxin, okay? Unfortunately, they let it go. The removal of metals from soft tissues, things like mercury, lead, iron, arsenic. And then there is oral chelation available, but normally it's IV, so they're injecting a chemical into your body to remove heavy metals and not really giving them a great exit strategy. So drawbacks, drawbacks are redistribution of toxic metals. I really should have my glasses on. The essential metal loss. So you're losing copper and calcium when you do a chelation protocol. There's no removal of metal from the intracellular, that means the fat cell, okay, inside of it. So they're dealing with stuff that's flowing around between the fat, okay. Hepatotoxicity and nephrotoxicity, these are like your liver and kidneys being just exploded by toxins, overwhelmed. Poor clinical recovery, interesting. Pro-oxidant, not antioxidant, so it's actually affecting your body in a very negative way, in fact aging you. And of course you get headaches, nausea, and increased blood pressure. But what's more startling is this quote that I found in that research paper. Most of the conventional chelators are compromised with many side effects and drawbacks, and there is no safe and effective treatment available for heavy metal poisoning. So there is none. Now, what's the priority of Big Pharma? Shareholder profits. They're in this to make customers, not to treat or give cures. So, what are the problems we're facing? These toxins are creating endocrine disruption, which is basically why we're seeing a ton of thyroid issues and other types of problems. But these are translating to the child. Immune suppression, birth defects, reproductive failure. These are in the lower exposures in parts per trillion. In fact, they're finding the lower the actual quantity of the toxin, it can be more dangerous. So, and women, your breasts contain the highest toxin concentrations. There's a little quote from my father. Toxic substances like arsenic, cadmium, lead, and aluminum are concentrated in mother's breast milk and fed to the nursing baby. The Environmental Working Group. Who's all heard of the Environmental Working Group? Anybody in here? You have? Awesome. So in 2005, they did a study and they detected 287 chemicals in the umbilical cord of about, I think it was 10 randomly selected children. 180 cause cancer in humans or animals. 217 are toxic to your brain and nervous system. 208 cause birth defects or abnormal development in animal tests. 9 of 10 randomly selected samples of cord blood tested positive for bisphenol A. Are you all familiar with BPA? That's used in plastic? Very good. It's a hardener for plastics.
What does it do in your body?
Damage. I mean, all the chemicals do a ton of damage. You're going to see a little bit more about that. But
And when you're talking about chemicals, these are all not natural, found in nature.
Right.
Just
Not found in nature. No. Some of these
Well, they're
heavy metals-
found in nature. The problem is we put them there.
Yes, thank you. Well said. So, toxic chemical exposures, you can see air, water, food, soil, and products. I'm going to quickly go through these for time's sake. So, all of the different products we're buying, including cleansers and fragrances. By the way, anything that's got a fragrance, run. Get away from it. Pesticides, herbicides, building materials, chemicals in carpet, furnishings, and cars. Most everything's been sprayed with a flame retardant, which is very toxic. And most of your new stuff like carpet and things are coming with formaldehyde, which they use to embalm bodies after they die. So, now on average, a woman puts 168 chemicals on her body every day. I've actually seen a number of 515. I went conservative for you guys. So, the skin absorbs the largest amount of toxins, especially the hands and feet. You ever rubbed anything on your feet like garlic or something that has a very profound flavor and you taste it 5 minutes later? Yeah. It's very fascinating. I'll explain why this occurs later, if I remember. But the skin is the largest organ of the body. It's about 22 square feet, about 8 pounds. So you can count that as part of your weight on the scale. 8th leading cause of death in the nation is chemical exposures at the workplace, chronic, and that does not exclude the office workers. They're getting hit too by the fumes coming in from the shops and things like that, or the workers that come in for some reason and they leave stuff around off their bodies or their clothing. There's been over 160 million occupational diseases diagnosed yearly, and most of these are caused by chemical agents. Roughly 1 in 10 cases of cancer are the result of predictable and preventable workplace exposures, and cancer is now the leading cause of death for firefighters. 600,000 to 810,000 deaths per year, according to the International Labour Organization. Chemicals in the water. So chloramines, as a matter of fact, chloramines is basically where they add chlorine and ammonia to the water to disinfect it, and it becomes chloramines. Highly toxic stuff. Pharmaceuticals are found in your drinking water. Drugs of abuse, estrogens, heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, and of course fluoride. These are all found in the water because the water treatment plants were designed to treat biological waste. This is not biological, this is man-made mostly.
But estrogens are in women.
Yes, and when you take the estrogen pills and things like that,
Yeah.
you wind up actually urinating a lot of it out because your body doesn't use it all, and that goes into the water treatment plant.
So when it's in the body naturally, that's not what you're talking about.
No,
You're
I am talking about the
version.
chemical version,
Okay,
synthetic.
all
So
right.
Yeah.
men are also getting it.
Yes.
They're drinking water.
Yes,
And children
connect some dots
that
there.
are not puberty.
Yeah, so xenoestrogens is what that's called when they affect, the reproductive cycles. Especially, have you seen frogs that have been, they're born males and then suddenly they become female, or vice versa? There's all kinds of weird stuff that goes on with these toxins in the water supply. I meant to bring this book out. It's on the bookshelf, but Fluoride Deception is a highly excellent read. It'll scare the bejesus out of you about how we get lied to so easily. But anyway, most developed countries don't fluoridate the water. Fluoridated countries do not have less tooth decay. Swallowing fluoride prevents little benefit to teeth. Studies linked fluoride to brain damage because it is a neurotoxin. Hitler knew this. Only drug added to water without our consent. It's been used to keep the prisoners of war or the Auschwitz Holocaust prisoners docile and basically dumbed down.
Is it a depressant or what is it?
It basically is a neurotoxin which dumbs us down.
Takes away your drive.
It takes away your drive too, yes.
That's the thyroid.
Thank you for that. On that periodic table over there is where fluoride is at the top on the right-hand side and iodine is about 2 rows or 4 rows down. That's because fluoride has the ability to get to your thyroid before iodine has a chance. That's why we're seeing endocrine disorders. All right, did I hit everything? 40% of American teens have dental fluorosis. What's that? That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Oh, I have that. I have white spots in my teeth from too much fluoride. They used to put it in trays and make me bite down on it.
Yep. So, pretty sight. Chemicals in the food. So we're getting antibiotics from the animal products that are eaten. We get mercury from any seafood, especially fish. Food additives, preservatives, food colors, MSG and aspartame, BPAs that we've already talked about, and then phthalates. So BPAs make plastic harder, phthalates make them softer, like your saran wrap, or even the squeezy bottles. Those have phthalates in them. And then, of course, our favorite one to talk about, glyphosate. Anybody here know what glyphosate is? Roundup, the ultimate killing machine. So this has been linked to autism, allergies, gastrointestinal diseases, cardiovascular diseases, infertility, obesity, depression, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, cancers, and more. There was just recently an award given to a gentleman in San Francisco for $280 million, the first case to ever beat Monsanto in court. And of course, they appealed and it's gotten whittled down to, I believe I heard 35 million, whatever, they still won. And that led to another 5,000 cases that were stacked up behind it. So,
Isn't this the same stuff as Agent Orange?
no, but Monsanto made Agent Orange. Monsanto has been making more toxic chemicals than anybody, but they did make Agent Orange.
I thought I saw something on TV that when they're trying to harvest the grain kernels, it's easier to harvest when they kill the foliage around it, so they actually would spray it with Roundup before they harvest the kernels.
So the wheat, for example, that's not a GMO food, is sprayed with that to dry it out. It desiccates the wheat before they harvest it because it's less weight and therefore they're getting more product.
So we're eating Roundup.
Oh yeah, big time.
I
Big
can't
time.
wait to the second half of this because now I'm excited. I'm going to get this crap out of my body. Can't
So
imagine.
I want you guys to pay attention to these next few slides. Just notice the trend, all right, from 1996 on up, all right? Celiac, diabetes, kidney failure. Oh, by the way, while I'm going through these, notice the source, USDA, CDC. They've
Center for
known
Disease
people,
Control.
they've known about this problem for decades. And they let it go because there's this thing called a revolving door. If you don't know about that, look that one up. It's where they go from being at the head of the, like the FDA, after they get left or they leave their position at whatever pharmaceutical or Monsanto type companies, they just go into the role where they can approve everything. It's called a revolving door. Anyway, so you can see that Alzheimer's, autism, everything is basically increased since 1996 because of glyphosate and Roundup, but it also started back in the 60s with the release of these plastics upon us. So there was already a lot of diseases happening at that time. I say don't label them, ban them.
So what were we looking at there?
You were looking at basically deaths or diseases reported based on the glyphosate.
No, what I meant was the corn had different
Corn
grades.
stuff.
Oh.
So it almost looked like an animal or something. I was trying to figure out what are we looking at.
It's nothing to try to see between the lines on it.
Okay.
It was a wonderful graphic,
Okay, okay.
admittedly. All right, so mitochondria as a target of environmental toxins. So and keep this in mind, okay? Mitochondria is the problem. We're damaging or making the mitochondria in the body dysfunctional with all these toxins. Integrated xenobiotics induce mitochondrial toxicity in the skeletal muscle. Here's basically fatty liver, okay? Notice here though, mitochondria and obesity and type 2 diabetes, it's all linked. Mitochondrial disease and toxins, this one is kind of a long one, but mitochondrial dysfunction has been identified as an important factor in many diseases and conditions beyond primary mitochondrial disease, including autism, ALS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. So exposure to toxins via medication, lifestyle, and the environment may lead to mitochondrial dysfunction, cell damage, and organ dysfunction. So this is a lecture that I think somebody else is going to do, but it's the mitochondrial action group. Dangers. Let's talk about the types of symptoms you might be having. Blurred vision, memory loss, acid reflux, and GERD. GERD, I hope. Gastroesophageal reflux disease, central nervous system disorders, increase of risk of breast cancer, unexplained weight gain, back pain, low testosterone in men. It's a whole industry around this one to give you more medication to help you build up your testosterone. Why don't you just get rid of the toxins? Irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, joint inflammation and stiffness, increased risk of colon cancer. This is a pretty graphic. Here's a laundry list of most everything that you can pretty much see that are symptoms that people are suffering from. I'm sure every one of you in this room has had some of these, if not all. No, not all. I'm not going to read through it. But wouldn't you just like to feel better?
Yes.
Yes. The detoxination protocol was designed to help with that. So let's talk about the fat cell, all right? These are toxins. We've got these protein channels for water-soluble fat, or like the vitamins and things to get into the cell, because this is all lipid, which means it's oily, and water and oil don't mix. So they have to have these channels for any water-soluble vitamins to get in. The mitochondria, the nucleus. So this is basically the engine. This is the brain. All right, these are the toxins that are messing with that. But this fat reservoir is built up of triglycerides, which are then broken up in this next section. I'll explain what's called lipolysis. So, lipolysis is used to release stored energy during fasting or exercise, like even stress. When you're sleeping is even a time when this is happening, because your body's repairing itself when you sleep. You didn't know that? It's the breakdown of the triglycerides for ATP. So the triglycerides are basically these little fat reservoirs. And in normal lipolysis, it mobilizes fatty acids, glycerol, which are the two components of triglycerides, fat-soluble vitamins, oils, and lipids, and some toxins. Okay? So everybody understand that part? Okay. So why niacin? Why is niacin so important? Has anybody ever had niacin?
Yes.
Do you have the flush? Do you get the
Yes.
flush?
Mhm.
Do you like that?
No.
Well, it's actually an important part of this protocol. However, it's not the main reason why this protocol works. A lot of people think so.
Because we're low.
Pardon me?
Because we're low.
We all are low, very much
Because
so.
if we have too much, when we're balanced with niacin, then you won't have the flush.
As a matter of fact, pellagra is the disease that is known for niacin deficiency. Pellagra is essentially schizophrenia. You take enough niacin, you will cure schizophrenia.
Oh, this is good to know.
And I'm talking in the 30,000 to 60,000 milligram ranges, folks. Which, if you've ever taken niacin, you probably did, what, 50 milligrams or 100 milligrams?
I know.
Yeah, maybe 100.
Yeah.
I need a-
Can you imagine taking 30
No,
to
that's why when you said
60,000?
that.
How do they do it?
They work up to it. It's not. No, they work up to it.
Okay, so what were you talking about, the flush?
So I'm going to go there in just a minute. Okay, you'll see graphic done. When we use niacin on the protocol, it must be the immediate release niacin. It has to be basically pure niacin. There's 3 forms of niacin. I'm not going to go too far into that, but essentially, it has to be the purest form of nicotinic acid. What it does is it stimulates lipid mobilization by triggering the release of free fatty acids into the bloodstream. Now, don't get panicked over this graphic. All we care about is this part here. The rest of it is where it came from. Okay. So, in a normal person, this is what lipolysis looks like. So that's the control group. All right? That's through a 6-hour period. When you take niacin, it does something rather unique but very important. It shuts off lipolysis. In fact, I have it here. It shuts off lipolysis. But Dan, that seems counterintuitive. It is. But when niacin wears off after 2.5 hours, the body's able to restart lipolysis. And it does it in a grand way. It basically starts up. For more information on our detoxination protocol, be sure to pick up a copy of our book, Sauna Detoxification Using Niacin, following the recommended protocol of Dr. David E. Root. In here, you're going to find out more about the problem of environmental toxins. You'll find peer-reviewed research papers, case studies, and example scenarios on how to use a sauna at a gym or a spa. And lastly, there's also a 50-page research paper that my father was required to submit to the California Medical Board, and this is in order for him to actually save his license when he was accused of being a charlatan. Anyway, check out this book. It's on Amazon.